But once you get your
fire truck
hit with a hammer, you're pretty shy about putting it on the table again.
Welcome to the Empire. It's the Eskimo Empire podcast.
Here's Mike Riley, takes the drop, waits and throws, and he's going deep downfield to Darius Bowman. Oh my goodness, what a catch by Darius Bowman. You won't see many better than that.
Hold it. This is the CFL this week. We have a much more appropriate theme song.
Pressure's coming. Oh, Levi Mitchell goes down. There's a big play for the defense. Somersaults for everybody. Franklin to Zylstra. Touchdown Eskimos.
Welcome back to the Turf District for episode 84 of the Eskimo Empire podcast. I'm your host, Andrew. Thank you for downloading and having a listen. With me, as always, it is the super fan, Mike. How you doing, man?
Good. The well, yeah, no, that's better.
It's better. That's better than what it is. How's the birthday celebrations? I know we covered it on Periscope, but not everybody got to see that because the Oilers are playing.
I know. It's been good. It's been a great week. It's certainly more than I expected. At my age now, birthdays are just another day usually, but this is a really good one this year. So
good.
Great.
Excellent. Well, welcome home.
Well, thanks.
That's good. Yes, exactly. We have a special show this week, which is nuts because we have nothing to talk about.
No.
But I do want to quickly say thank you to everyone that joined in for some Empire Therapy last Friday night on Periscope. You can find that on Periscope TV. But tonight is even more special because the Oilers are in round one of the playoffs. And even more than that, we welcome one of the CFL podcast family into the Turf District from the CFL Horsemen pod. It's podcaster Ryan.
Is that the Steve Austin music there?
It's beer crack.
The glass shatters and the bad guy comes down to the cage and talks about why all the disrespect that I get around the CFL podcast family when everyone says that Brian started this whole thing. The guy might have written a blog first, but I threw up the first episode in 2008, and I will stand by that we were the first CFL pod, or at least the first CFL pod that's still going. I'm not sure if there might have been another one somewhere that somebody started, but back in the day, there was us and Brian, but I want to say that we were first, and Brian's not been able to dispute that with facts yet.
No. You were most definitely first. I will put that on record. You were on first, but Brian just looks like the podfather, does he not? I mean, seriously, would you cross Brian? Come on, really?
I wouldn't cross Brian. I don't know. I might be more afraid of some of the Piffles guys because they've got kind of that pale murderer face going.
So I might be everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. I think Brian might be the heavy, but I don't know that he's the power behind the throne.
True.
And so there are a couple guys that I might be a little more afraid of in a whole sense.
That's Brazilian tie.
But
yeah, he wins.
Well, that's when you earn your nickname that way.
He doesn't have any hair follicles behind the crime scene. Clearly, I've watched too much CSI.
I don't know. If you're leaving those kind of follicles around on a crime scene, you've done more than just crime.
That's a little... well, that depends. Have you met Brazilian Tie? Come on now. Let's get to our Eskimo news. I mean, let's go to the big bomb. I mean, the huge thing that happened, I'm sure everyone knows about it. They've been on Twitter. They know all those things. The Eskimos re-signed Corey Jones today.
That was massive.
That's massive. It's exactly huge.
And really,
Biggest
that's
news of the day.
Exactly.
And pretty much that's all that happened.
That's
Anyway,
it for this week. So thank you for joining. No, all right. So So the big one, obviously, and you kind of alluded to this already, Ryan. And it's kind of interesting, like you said on the Periscope. All of this is happening this week. We asked, could we have a few things to talk about in the off season? And let's invite another podcaster in, and we'll have some. We'll find something to talk
for
about.
A couple hours just about podcasting.
We'll it'll be easy. Next thing you know, so last Friday, Ed Hervey gets the can. Len Rhodes comes out, says they have my favorite line ever: philosophical differences. Which probably is actually...
One's more into Socrates, one's into Plato.
That's right, yeah. So it's a little... it's probably quite accurate in this particular sense, but... Ed Hervey is no longer the GM of the Edmonton Eskimos. So, first, Superfan, we haven't had any of your opinion on this, and then I'm going to go over to Ryan. So what do you think? Or what's your first reaction?
Well, first of all, it was shocking not only that it happened, but when it happened. How many people were making fun of Toronto and Toronto fans when it's February, it's free agency, and they don't have a general manager?
Yeah.
There's Toronto fans?
Yeah, both of them.
Okay.
So they, at this point...
Argo Diva.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're still the only team without a podcast, right?
They are currently.
At this particular moment, but there is rumors of one starting, and they contacted me.
I did yell at some people at the tweet up in Grey Cup.
Good.
I'm like, you guys are the site. Why are you not also putting a microphone in the middle of the room and talking about it?
That's right. That's what we need to do.
Anyway.
It's not like it's that expensive, but anyway.
What? Yes, it is.
It doesn't have to be. Believe me, I walk in here and I'm like, oh, a studio. As opposed to a random microphone in the middle of a poker table.
This is true.
Just the fact that we've got everything's coming up right now. Not mentioning training camp, let alone the draft. A lot of it obviously is in place at this point.
Yeah, I think the draft part is probably mostly in place at this point. So that part I'm not super worried about. But training camp, I am.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got to be figuring there's still people to be brought in and signed and everything else.
There better be. We're shy a few cornerbacks at this particular moment.
So that totally shocked me. Hearing that there's philosophical differences doesn't surprise me much. Mm-hmm. You see the two of them together, and you really couldn't get two more disparate type of personalities between those two. However, I'm kind of shocked or disappointed that they couldn't at least work together for the better of the team. So,
did either of you listen to the waggle that came out today?
Not today, no.
Okay, I listened to it this morning, and I think Sobalski had a really, really good point in that in this scenario, everybody loses.
Yes.
Len loses because he's taking a very huge winning GM who pieced together an amazing team
and is popular within the franchise.
Absolutely, and want to be on the Wall of Honor, all these things, Eskimo forever, and doesn't have them anymore. So that loses. Fans lose because fans loved Ed Hervey and they want Ed Hervey to be here, and he did put winners on the field. Absolutely. Ed Hervey loses because he no longer has a job. So at some point in this whole conversation, I agree with what you just said. It saddens me that they couldn't sit down together as men and say, okay, we need to do A, B, and C. How can we get to do A, B, and C? Or can we do A and B and maybe we can work on C? Or there was just no... It doesn't seem like there was any middle ground. And I think that's two guys with really strong heads that couldn't find a way to work it out so that everyone would have a better chance of winning.
Right.
Well, and there's always that old adage in sports that winning cures all ills.
Sure.
And
you would think. But
and that obviously isn't the case here. I think because you can't argue with Ed Hervey's record in the last few years.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'd argue that throwing your left tackle under the bus in front of the media was an interesting choice.
Guard, yeah,
it was a guard.
Yeah. That was year one, though.
But again, he's developed as a general manager.
Sure.
Obviously, the credit for the Grey Cup team can't all go to Chris Jones, as was speculated, because there was a lot of people who said, well, you brought in Chris Jones and he rebuilt this roster in his image and they won the Grey Cup.
Right.
They were back in the West Division final last year with a
East Division final.
East Division final.
Yep.
Sorry,
But a divisional final.
But the
I know, you're used to
consolation
West.
final.
It's fine.
Yeah, they were back in the consolation final. Well,
It was terrible losing to Ottawa. Can you imagine?
Could you imagine? It'd be horrible to lose to Ottawa.
well, but I think it would be worse to lose to Ottawa in Ottawa. So I think that
You really think so?
At least they had advantage there. They had home field
It's
advantage.
true, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
let's not pretend that anytime the Stampeders go to the Grey Cup, it's not home field advantage for the other team. You guys might be the evil empire, but there are a lot of CFL fans that are sick of seeing the Stampeders win things.
No kidding.
But I think the interesting thing for me is that you step out and there's a lot of things that Ed Hervey was that the press conference they said Ed Hervey wasn't doing that shouldn't necessarily have been Ed Hervey's job. And so the question here becomes, to me as an outsider, why was that a part of Ed Hervey's job? When if Ed Hervey's responsible, I mean, Ed Hervey is the general manager, can shut down the media. Absolutely, he can, and he did. And he took a beating in the media for that repeatedly.
Right.
I mean, again, reading Terry Jones every day. Boy, it would be nice if we could talk to these guys.
Which they could.
Okay, but here's the difference, and this is one thing that I will say that I and a lot of fans have brought this up. To me, I don't think that you as media have to go in the locker room. I do think you have to have access to players, and I think if you have access to talk to them even on the field after every practice or in a designated spot, but I don't think they have to be in the locker room.
I can tell you that part of the problem with that is I get to go in the locker room after games. The Stampeders locker room is open, I think, only one day a week for reporters. But I don't I don't get to go to practice because I have a day job.
Yeah, we all do.
So I don't have the luxury of going down to watch practice. But when I have gotten to go to practice, I know that the media guys send a request through the media team. They've got a board that says who's going to talk to who and everything else.
Yeah, Esks have that too, but it's just on field.
And it's on field in Calgary too.
Okay, there you go.
Well, it's on the kind of end zone concourse there, and the concrete. But what Terry Jones' point is, and it's valid, is that if I'm talking to you about something, and you, I don't have access to Mike. I can't ask Mike that question because Mike's already in the locker room, and once you're there, it's too late, and I can't get you. And I can't ask the media guy because I can't ask the media guy to say, hey, could you go get Mike because Andrew had something really interesting to say about him, and I've now got a question, and it's probably a much better story than the story I was going to get that I thought I was going to get with Andrew. And that's Terry's point, is that ability and having the guys in the locker room also had guys, like we said here, the first 10 minutes of an interview are far different from the last 30 minutes, the last 40 minutes.
Absolutely.
And so what you get when you're in the locker room is that second, you're bypassing that first 10 minutes, and you're getting a better story. And you're not getting backs against the wall, 110%, cliche, because after 10 minutes you run out of those.
Kind of quotes,
yeah, exactly. Right, you run out of those. And I think Terry's point, which is valid in my mind, because I'm a guy that reads it every day. And part of the reason we do these podcasts is because we don't get those stories anymore.
That's true, yeah.
And we don't get them anymore. We used to. There was a time when those stories were available, and you got the personal interest stories about players.
Right.
And those are fewer and farther between. Now, some of that has to do with cutting back in sports departments.
Yep, sure.
And not having as many guys covering the team. So now the one guy that has to write the game day story, because that's the only way the game day story gets written, and maybe he doesn't have the human interest piece beside that because he's got too much time figuring out the game day story.
Right.
But at the same time, without that kind of ease, when you guys run into guests that you've had on the show, I'm sure it's, oh, hey, man. And they're happy to just talk to you about whatever.
Right.
Yes.
You know, I went to a game in Saskatchewan. And I got sideline passes before the game.
I remember you tweeting that out. Yeah,
and it was awesome. But Matt Walter came over, and he was playing for the Riders at the time. And I called him and I said, "Hey, Matt, how's it going?" Guy's a Saskatchewan Rough Rider.
Yep.
Came over and just chatted like nothing had happened to me all the time, and had some things to say about his time there.
Yeah.
That there's no way he would have said that to regular media.
Right.
There's no way he would have said that. Because he knew me, because he'd been in my house, because he'd been on the show. And the locker room is the player's house.
Sure.
Of course.
So when you're in their house, they're going to act differently. When you're on the field, you've got those quotes, you've got those cliches, you've got your talking points, and that's all you're going to get.
Yeah.
The depth of coverage has changed because we don't have, in the media, we don't have the accessibility that we used to. And that locker room accessibility is a vital step to having the depth of coverage, to knowing your team better and knowing them beyond the cliche, knowing them beyond anything, because you get a chance to just casually talk to somebody, and it might not be a story that generates immediately, and it might not even be recorded. When I'm talking to you on the field, I'm recording because I know that story's happening today, and I'm writing it today, and it's being printed tomorrow.
Right. Yes.
If I'm talking to you without my microphone, I'm working on something that may be a couple weeks away, and it's going to take a couple conversations. But those conversations can't happen if I'm not allowed that kind of access. So I think.
Or getting them to that comfortable zone that we were talking about, right?
The level of I'll talk to you and I'll tell you things that I normally wouldn't have talked to because I trust you.
Right.
And that trust can't be developed on the field.
Right.
Well, this and that's interesting as you say that, because I've kind of experienced that now with this. The Eskimo, this is another kind of a news piece, but the Eskimos were up in Grand Prairie this week and had a signing autograph thing in Grand Prairie and then Whitecourt. And in Grand Prairie, it was Justin Sorensen, Ryan King, Calvin McCarty, and Anthony Barrett. And my mother-in-law, my in-laws live in Grand Prairie. And my mother-in-law went to the autograph signing and went up and said, "I'm Andrew's mother-in-law." And Ryan was like, "Hey, how's it going?" and gave her a hug and took a picture with her and did all that. And Calvin turns to her and he goes, Andrew's going to have this tweet in like 5 minutes, right? like they were joking about it because it's a
relationship
connection that you're talking about, right? And that's awesome. Like I love that that's there, right? And that's because you get to that point of that comfort. So I can see where that point.
Yeah, and you engender the trust. And if you don't allow that trust to build, then what you're doing is you're hurting the end product. And the end product is the ticket buying public.
Absolutely.
I get that it's not Ed Hervey's job to talk to Terry Jones. It's his job to build a winning football team.
Agreed.
But it's somebody's job to talk to Terry Jones, and it's somebody's job, and it should be, quite frankly, it should be Ed Hervey. I talked to John Hufnagel a lot about in a team capacity about the team, but it's that thing too. When we went down, being a different animal. So I go down and I go to McMahon and I cover the draft every year. And what happens is during the war room, they go up and they do their war room.
Amazing.
And then we're down in the media room. And after the first round, Huff comes down and talks about the first round pick. Then he goes back upstairs. He comes down after round 4 to talk about rounds 2 through 4. Then he goes upstairs and he comes down when the night's over.
Wow. Okay.
And you get 3 separate interviews about the players that have been drafted. When Hufnagel drafted Alex Singleton last year, he came downstairs, what a phenomenal pick.
Yeah.
That Canadian Alex Singleton. And I put that in big air quotes for those listening at home. And if you listen to our podcast with Alex Singleton this year, he also puts it in big air quotes.
I'm sure he does, yes.
But when he drafted Alex Singleton, he came downstairs and he said, I bet you like that pick, not just another offensive lineman, to me. Nobody else in the room kind of got that interaction. And then he just kind of turned to the podium and was like, "All right, are we ready?" But he looked right at me. He's like, I bet you thought I was going to take an O-lineman, because I said that to him before the draft. We get together with Huff once a year from the Horsemen crew in a non-recorded way. Huff takes us out for drinks once a year and says it's his good luck charm.
Okay.
Because he hasn't had a losing season since we started the podcast, which is the same year that he started being the head coach. So we're apparently his good luck charm, which, it works out real well. The coincidence of us starting a podcast and him becoming head coach worked out in that way. But nevertheless, takes us out for beers every year.
Okay.
And I said to him it was a couple days before the draft, I said, well, I imagine you're going O-line in the first round. And he goes, well, why is that? I said, because that's what you do. I said, if you look at your picks over the last 10 years or 8 years, I said you've picked a lot more O-linemen than you've picked anything else. And he goes, well, we'll see. He said, but I don't think that'll happen this year. And when Singleton came off the board, he goes, I bet you're happy about that. I said, I'm real happy. I'm just fine with that.
And then about 3 months later, you're like, I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, considering when you look at his prorated numbers in games that he started, he would have broken J.C. Sherritt's tackle, or he would have broken Solomon's tackle record.
Yeah.
Wow. If you prorate out his 9 games in the back half of the year, which by the way is when football is tougher.
Yeah.
He said he would have. You prorate that over an 18-game season. If he's able to keep that kind of pace again this year, he could break Eliminian's record.
Well, that was like Darrell in his rookie year, right? Like he only played the last 9, but if he played the front 9 as well, he would have led the league in receiving. Like,
right?
What? So you have those kind of players, right? So, okay. Any more thoughts on Ed at this point, there, Mike? We've kind of covered most of it, I think. But
I think that you really hit it on the head with. For the things that he was let go for, why were they in his purview at all? It's the kind of thing that if he's taking these roles on, someone is allowing him to do that. If he's not supposed to be, then someone needs to come up to him and say, that's not your job and it's not your call to make. This person who makes that call, it's going to happen or it's not going to happen, as the case may be.
Well, but if that's the case too, what may have happened here is Ed, they said to Ed, hey, this is going to happen, and you're going to do this. And Ed went, well, no, I'm not. And I dare you to fire me. I've won you a Grey Cup, and I've been in conference finals.
That's possible, yeah.
And do you wouldn't dare fire me with how successful I've been. And sometimes...
That's what I said, philosophical...
An ultimatum, maybe, yeah.
Sometimes when you thunk your
fire truck
on the table, it's going to get hit with a hammer. And
sometimes.
I think
I've never had that problem, but okay. That's
allegedly. It's not like I run around throwing it on the table all the time. But if you're going to walk...
I listen to the podcast. Yes, you do.
Not on this table so far.
It more hits the bottom of the table than flops onto the top.
Okay, good, yeah.
But if you're going to put it on the table, sometimes someone will hit it with a hammer.
Yeah.
And I think that may be what happened here. When you look at the live mic game, I mean, say what you want about the live mic experiment. I really quite liked it, but I'm a football nerd. I have no idea what the plays meant. I have no idea what anything else meant. But I liked it. I thought it was neat because as a guy that loves football movies, it was almost that football movie atmosphere of being in the huddle that you don't get in real sports.
Right. Omaha.
Yeah, exactly. So being in the huddle was fun, and I enjoyed it. So when the Eskimos and the decision was made and backed by Hervey said, nah, screw it, we're not going to put him on. Yeah. That looks bad for the league. Yeah. It looks bad on the Eskimos, and it looks bad from an outsider's perspective. I know there was a lot of fervor inside the Eskimo Empire saying, good, we don't want to give away our plays, and we don't want to do that and everything else. And it's like, okay, but every other team did it.
Right.
And so, you're no different than any other team, and why should you have...
There were some differences, though, in the no-huddle offense. It's more of an advantage, I think. I don't really think I liked the idea in the first place. I would have preferred to... I'd rather have Charleston Hughes and Odell Willis mic'd up than our coach.
But that already happens.
But I mean in a live situation.
That already happens. Well, I don't think you can mic those guys live.
And we did
already filter, right? So
we did already talk about it though too. The whole idea behind the live mic was it really wasn't for us that are sitting at this table.
No.
It was for people who have never watched the game before.
It was for people
So
that,
they have to
that
do-
like football movies but don't watch football.
And they wanted to put the big names on or whatever. My thing, and what I actually liked the best about it, was the coaching. I don't care about being in the huddle. I honestly don't. What I cared about was, what was the coach saying when that guy came off the field? You know, I really need you to run right. Or, okay, next time can we do... Because as not only a football fan, but as a major air quotes coach of my 9-year-old son, I want to know what he's telling him to make the play better next time. Right. And I want to hear when he's got to say, when he's talking to the ref and he's like, yeah, that was garbage, right? Or whatever. But that was the part that was the most interesting for me, is give me the coaching, give me the team portion of it. Right. But again, was it made for me? I don't think so.
No, but
and I do think, and I said this to you earlier. I texted it to you. I didn't say it to you, but at some point there does have to be. I'm playing a bit of devil's advocate, but there has to be. It's not the Edmonton Eskimos Football League; it's the Canadian Football League, and so that they're the bosses.
At least anymore.
Right.
Now that Hugh Campbell's gone.
the Campbell Football League.
Okay, but fair enough. I'll give you that. But
But now
still,
it's Rick Campbell. So yeah.
Right.
now it shouldn't be. But that's the thing. It needs to be the Canadian Football League, and I think that at some point, I don't want anybody to get me wrong in the fact that I still think that Hervey should be here. I still think that
Yes.
because of his winning percentage, but I think that it should have been separated and worked out properly. But I do think that at some point there does have to be, your boss says you have to do this, then you have to do it, or you no longer have a job. And I think that's kind of what happened here.
Yeah, but that could have happened in December or January.
It could have.
Well,
I agree.
from what they said, it did. From what the interpretation I got of the situation was that they started exploring new candidates in January.
Yeah, but they're also looking at an extension.
Yeah, they were looking at an extension with him.
And
then,
in December,
yeah.
It's reported that Hervey has agreed that they would do the live mics again.
Well,
and he wouldn't interfere.
Of course.
But he agreed to it
Once
the
you
first
get
time.
your
Fire truck.
hit with a hammer, you're pretty shy about putting it on the table again.
You're sounding this like there's some real world experience here. I'm just saying.
No, but that's pretty much as good a metaphor as I can have, as you bleep out and edit that whole thing. But
No,
Oh no, that's going in. That's fantastic.
that's leading.
Yeah, that's right at the top of the show. Once you throw your dick out of the table. Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, well, let's quickly. Who replaces? Any thoughts on who replaces Ed Hervey as the GM of the Eskimos?
There's a lot of choices at the end of the year. I know that they've talked
Yeah.
about Jeremy O'Day as having an interview.
Yeah, I heard
That came up
that
today.
Shocked
they did
that
give.
Saskatchewan's giving permission for that, but
Well, and obviously there was a. Well, now let me let's touch on that actually, because
what
when
kind
I
of compensation would be going the other way?
When I heard that, exactly, there's got to be some compensation going the other way. But I also thought, okay, but when Chris Jones came in, instead of just having Jeremy O'Day as his assistant GM, then he brought in Murphy. And they have two assistant GMs. So maybe at some point they're also looking and saying, well, do we really want Jeremy O'Day here? Like, I wasn't sure.
Well, and Jeremy O'Day was there when he got
Yes,
there,
absolutely.
and now after a full year with Jeremy O'Day, is Chris Jones looking at it and going, well, we could probably do it without him.
That's what I'm wondering, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if
he
there
helped
was
in the
a bit
transition.
of a-
We're good to go.
Exactly.
And O'Day also applied for the job when Hervey got it.
Yes, exactly.
He helped with the transition.
I got nothing.
What a terrible year for the Rough Riders. if Jeremy O'Day was at all responsible for what was happening in Saskatchewan, I wish him the best as the GM of the Eskimos, because I can't wait to watch it happen here.
Thanks.
More about the transition of how it's done, but anyway.
Okay.
Less than the result. I don't know. There's a lot of people. I mean, Sunderland has been a name that's been thrown around a lot.
Of course, yeah.
So with Rick Campbell, another name that's been thrown around
I've
a lot
heard that.
by them.
I can't imagine that Ottawa gets rid of Rick Campbell.
No.
There's no way. There's no way that Ottawa releases Rick Campbell.
It also depends what he wants to do. If he says,
contract.
no, I'm a coach, I want to coach, then it doesn't matter. He's going to stick with coaching, right?
I think even if he says, I want to be a GM and I want to move back to Edmonton, how does Ottawa say, hey, thanks for the Grey Cup, we'll just find another coach, it's not a big deal, it's 3 weeks before the season starts.
Thanks for the Grey Cup, we'll get a new GM.
Yeah, not a
Wait
big
a
deal.
minute.
Because he's not even the GM there. He's
No, I
just
know,
the
but that's
coach,
just it. If
so,
he wants to get a promotion, right?
I mean,
how do you stand in
but
his way?
it's whether or not that's in his contract.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
I mean, that's, because that window is not supposed to be open anymore.
No, but I'm talking
And
about the end of the year. This is at the end of the year,
So
right?
apparently, allegedly, the CFL is breaking the rules for the Eskimos and allowing them to contact other teams because just last year they instituted these rules that said if you were only allowed to contact employees of another team
Up
between
until
the end of the Grey Cup and I think the end of February.
Right.
And then after that, there's a moratorium on it, and now they're opening it up. So the Eskimos are phoning, going, please, somebody, is there a player personnel guy there?
I have a feeling that the Eskimos contacted the Saskatchewan Roughriders and said, "Is this even a possibility?" Before they go to the CFL and say, "Can we lift this to have the conversation?" Do you know what I mean? Like, my guess is that's how it happened, but I mean,
We have no idea.
But
there's a lot of really, every team seems to have an assistant in some way that could be talented. Whether it's
I'm actually surprised it's not Murphy that they want instead of O'Day.
Yeah, it's possible it is. We don't know.
But from what I understand about John Murphy is he very much likes the idea of traveling down through the States during the season and recruiting guys and net listing guys and that kind of thing, and that's not something that you can do if you've got to be the full-time seat, which is why the assistant GM title right now I think is very comfortable for him.
Sure.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
And again, there's lots of guys. McManus is a name that gets thrown around a lot. Simon is a name that gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah, G-Roy I've heard, but I hadn't heard
I don't think.
McManus
I mean, G-Roy's pretty happy where he is right now, but you never know, right?
Yeah, you never know. It depends on what his aspirations
Is Wally
are.
grooming him the same way Huffnagel groomed
Dickinson? Yeah. Who knows? All right. Well,
I think if we're talking about candidates, I mean, as long as you guys find the least qualified person you can, that will blow this up.
We'll try.
Just for you. And just dive this franchise into depths of losing that just it won't recover from for a decade. I think that's the best choice you can make.
Now there's the part that I'm editing out. Okay,
right. the appeal for Kevin or for Michael Fitteri to make it Fred Fitteri to make his way back to the CFL and ruin another.
Anyone
franchise?
Got a kid that's got a quarterback that they really have to say?
Anyone that have a box company and a quarterback for his son?
I can't wait for that to happen. So, okay, let's get to our next topic because I know, Ryan, you want to talk about this one.
Corey Jones.
Exactly.
No.
Nate Kuhorn.
Next topic.
He does. Nate Kuhorn retires again, kind of suddenly.
Yes.
On Sunday, he did put out a message saying that he was retiring from football due to injury and having obviously dealt with concussions and all those types of things.
Wants to move on to the next phase of his life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I wish him all the best. Hope he finds exactly what it is that he would like to do and that works out for him. Awesome. Odell Willis, on the other hand, had a little different thought. And then sent out a tweet that not sure about the timing on that one either, to be terribly honest.
Amazing. What, like when Twitter book is printed, that tweet is in there. Because
I agree.
Not just did he. Twitter has 140 characters.
Yes.
And in 140 characters, he called his former teammate a liar.
Yeah.
He called him soft. He called him a thief. He had emojis. Everything in that tweet.
He had some hashtags.
He had hashtags.
Yeah.
I mean, what Odell did with that tweet was greatness.
That's going to be a class in university one day.
It surpassed anything he's ever done on a football field. It was the highlight of his career. If that tweet doesn't lead his highlight package at an Eskimo game where they're talking about featuring the players, they're missing an opportunity, because it is the single greatest tweet I've ever seen from a player. I follow a lot of CFL trash talkers. Derek Dennis just lays it down. Sean Lemon, Simone Lawrence, Charleston Hughes.
Yeah.
But that tweet from Odell, I mean, you never talked about your head when you were playing. Y'all soft. Can't wait until your check clears. Like, just everything was in one tweet. Not even a series of tweets where he calls out a teammate. It was all in one. It was maximum efficiency of 140 characters. And what Odell did in that tweet was blow a man to pieces. Like, Nate Cohorn is being picked up and collected into a bucket and given to Drew Barrymore on Netflix. There's nothing left of him.
That was a good reference.
There's nothing left of him. He got blown up. It was the greatest tweet of the CFL offseason and Odell's finest accomplishment.
Okay, I don't quite see it like that. But
You don't say.
No
What?
kidding. Yeah.
What?
There's two things about this that come to my mind. One is Nate Cohorn's response took the high road.
Yes.
I do give him credit for that.
Wait, well, I didn't see the response.
You didn't see the response.
No,
Okay.
What was the response?
So his response was basically, I'm sorry you feel that way. When I got hit and I couldn't remember the rest of the game in Saskatchewan in week 2, that was an issue for me. I've dealt with head injuries and I have an opportunity to move on, and I'm trying to do that. So now the one part of the tweet that I do want to talk about that I thought was
picture there
that I thought was interesting, and only because every time that I'll let you read that first and then
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Every time that a player gets released right before they're due a bonus, it's always a huge deal, right? It's this player got released, and the day before he was due a bonus, and it was the league is being mean and all this kind of stuff. But other than Maurice Price, has there been any other talk of when a player gets a bonus and then retires? And I do think that does happen on about as regular a basis as the cutting before a bonus.
I don't know if that happens nearly as often, but
I just think that it does happen, but it's never made public. Do you know what I mean?
I think there are definitely more. There is more access and accessibility to that stuff now than there has been in the past. So we're seeing it a little more often.
But I think you may even see both ways.
I think you may even have seen teams in the past who have rewarded guys with that bonus and said, "Hey, listen, the way we had to structure your contract, we can't give you." We can't give you the bonus that we promised you this year. We know you're retiring next year. Wait until the year kicks in. Wait until you get your money and you can retire before training camp. Because you see that every year, too. You see guys, who a couple days before training camp spontaneously retire.
Yeah. Right.
I think that those bonuses, and that was probably a part of the story that wasn't in the media as much.
Sure.
I can tell you, from a Calgary standpoint, what Mo did in Saskatchewan was not looked upon with friendly eyes.
No, I'm quite sure about that. Yeah,
and I'm sure. I mean, from the tweets I just read here from Mike, it looks like Cohorn saying that his bonus wasn't until May 1st, and so he didn't get the bonus, and so he's not. But as strong as the tweet was from Odell, I think that Nate Cohorn might have been better off not responding at all, just because his response. His response is a classy response.
Yes.
But nobody's going to look at that as, because Odell pretty much just smacked him in the face.
Oh, absolutely.
Something about a hammer on a table.
Yeah. Something about a hammer on a table. But at the same time, I don't think Nate threw it out there.
No, that's true.
So it was just
a hammer.
It was just a hammer in the pants. It was just a hammer in the pants.
Just walked up to him.
At that point,
Was it a 20-pound sledge?
I don't know that Kuhorn's response. When somebody does that to you, I don't know that the public response of "I'm sorry you feel that way," but I understand that you don't particularly like the situation. I can assure you that at one point I was hurt, and I'm not interested in being hurt any longer. But I wish you the best of luck in the future. Isn't necessarily the way you respond to getting a hammer in the pants. So I think it
I can
just
tell you what my response is.
Ow!
Yeah, exactly.
Ow! I'm going to leave my phone on the table. So yeah, it just seems like a milquetoast response to what was a fairly, like I said, the greatest accomplishment of Odell Willis's career.
Okay, but Mike, I need to know your opinion.
Not even talking to you.
Yeah, just switch it over. I'm rotating the chair. As Paul F. talking, I'm going to stop looking at you now. Okay, yes, go.
I'm seeing a lot of chatter from CFL fans all over the place, media all over the place, and I think just seeing
Just keep talking.
the internal bickering between two teammates just doesn't reflect well on the league or the team.
Well, you fire Ed Hervey, and all of a sudden,
and
all the issues come to light. Maybe Ed was keeping a nice little.
That's what I'm wondering, right?
Things.
Ed definitely had his pulse on the players. He was definitely the kind of guy that would keep in touch with them on a regular basis, and maybe has prevented some of these things from happening. Now that there isn't somebody in Edmonton keeping that sort of tabs, we've got Paul Jones who's in Louisiana.
Yeah.
It's a little different kind of connection with these players.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So maybe that kind of thing doesn't happen. I don't know. Maybe, again, Ed is gone, and now a few days later, Kuhorn retires. So
after allegedly taking a pay or being asked to take a pay cut.
Right. But
now, interesting thing about that, because
turns out it happens not just in Saskatchewan.
It happens all the time to all these players.
Absolutely.
And has for decades.
Yes.
Yeah. And wasn't it Nate that had the tweet out after Ed got fired saying maybe it was because he was asking,
and then that got deleted.
People, and then it got deleted. Yeah, exactly.
Well, because we've established that hot fire is not what you follow Nate Kuhorn for. He's not spitting takes.
No.
He's coming across.
But with, neither am I. So whatever. I don't care.
So you're saying you're not going to have a university course on social media based on his tweets?
No, I don't think Nate Kuhorn makes the book of Twitter.
But Odell Willis is the front page.
Odell Willis, he's on the cover. How many, just beating down a teammate religiously. If he never tweeted again, he would have walked off a champion. He would have Michael Jordan'd Twitter. He would have
first time,
yeah. The
Chicago time.
Chicago Michael Jordan.
Yes.
I don't remember Charlotte Michael Jordan.
It's best.
Or Washington.
The Boulets. I ignore the later stages of Michael Jordan's career. His greatness ended in '98,
right?
And he never played another game. Yeah,
forever.
Much like we say in 1989, they did not have playoffs that year.
No, that's true.
We went 16-2. Didn't have the playoffs. It was all over.
That's right. That's what happens. Yeah. Thanks.
Is that the way you deal with that?
Yeah, it's kind of. Yeah.
Well, it's my therapist recommends. So
I had a buddy of mine. He tweeted me savage. He's like 15-2-1 and 12-4, and neither of your football teams won anything.
Right.
I was like, thanks. I appreciate you kicking me in the dick like that. Thank you for that.
Thank you for the
February reminder.
The hammer in the pants.
Hammer in the pants. Really, that's going to become a new hashtag for this show. Hammer in the pants. I want to see everybody from the Empire hashtagging hammer in the pants. That's right. Because we don't usually just lay it out, but we will get a hammer in the pants.
That's what I have this week.
That's what I felt on Friday morning. That was a serious hammer in the pants. That's right.
Yeah, I thought, is it the first? No, it's not.
No, it's not. Yeah, exactly. Well, podcaster Ryan, we love having you here. It's
Yes.
always a fun conversation and lots of laughs. And of course, we listen to the show as well. But
Fewer heel turns this time. So.
That's okay. There was enough. Yeah, that was good.
But the season's not on.
I
That's
know.
right. Yeah,
The season's not on.
That's right. It's all friendly, right? This is like CFL week. Everyone's friendly now.
Yeah, it's fun.
Give everybody a chance to find you online and the show, all those types of things. Throw those out there so that people can find you.
I am at Podcast Orion. That's a fairly unique internet identifier. So if you search Podcast Orion, you're going to find me and not somebody else. You can also subscribe to our show on Horsemen Radio on the old iTunes.
Which is now on iTunes.
Or Google
which is
Play.
lovely.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
now on iTunes. Go to the forum. We love opposition fans, quite frankly, because the more we can talk about the CFL in general, the better. So you don't just have to talk about CFL. You don't have to talk about the Stampeders. We've got a general CFL forum where we aggregate the news for as many teams as possible. And so you can get in and discuss there at CFLHorsemen.ca. And I encourage you to check it out because unlike some other message boards that are currently unavailable, you may I think there's while there's a lot of wheat on the CFL on riderfans.com, there is also a lot of chaff. And I think on Horsemen, the wheat to chaff ratio is a little greater.
Needs to be the slogan.
Yes, because nothing.
We have a better wheat to chaff ratio.
Wheat to chaff ratio is better on our site than theirs. But that being said, I mean, you can't beat their site for volume.
Yes,
you can't beat their site for passion, quite frankly. And I love the guys over there.
Yeah.
And wouldn't and only poke fun at them because they're not sitting in front of me.
That's okay. We're sitting in front of you. So
CFLHorseman.ca is where you can find archived episodes of the podcast as well. Going back, I believe 4 years. We've got all kinds of shows. So you can go back and listen to the shows there. We're slowly kind of putting archived shows up, if I remember, at the end of every month to fill our quota on Libsyn. Just to fill the space quota, we'll throw up an old show every once in a while. But in the meantime, check us out on Twitter at CFL_Horsemen because the Central Florida Horsemen's Association is the CFL Horsemen, and we believe that to be a fake Twitter account that someone started when we changed our Twitter handle in support of the Pink campaign. We went back to change it back the week later, and the Central Florida Horsemen's Association had started.
Oh, wow.
And stole the Twitter name. So that's why we are CFL_Horsemen.
All right.
And of course, I'm at Podcast Orion on Twitter. That's where I get a lot of my stuff done. Feel free to check me out. Yell at me if you want. You were listening to this show. You wanna disagree with something I had to say? Hit me. There's nothing I like more
Just
than
not with a
arguing with
hammer.
people.
Just no hammer in the pants.
No hammer in the pants.
That's right,
And I promise I'll try not to put it on the table.
I can't end it any better than that. All right, we will take a short break and we will be right back after this.
Hey, this is Max on the Snap Wrap, and you're listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
Hey guys, do you know there's even more ways to interact with the Empire online? What? That's right, you can find us on Twitter at EskEmpirePod, on Facebook under the Eskimo Empire Podcast group, on Instagram at EskEmpirePod, and you can also follow us on YouTube under our channel, the Eskimo Empire Podcast. Now, I know you guys like that Eskimo history segment, right? Yeah! You can follow more of that information at Esks History on Twitter, and you can find it on This Day in Esks History on Facebook. Don't forget to share, okay? Okay! Thanks so much for listening. Let's get back to the show. And we are back. Wow, that was so fun with Ryan.
Yeah.
I love chatting with him because he doesn't pull any punches, and we just have fun. And
when he comes out of his,
when he
out
breaks out of his shell,
he's going to be
it took
great.
10 minutes to warm him up, but then
And then he walked in the door.
yeah, exactly. No, that was a lot of fun, and I do expect to see the hashtag hammer in the pants over and over again. So what's next? Well, it's that time again. Patreon, patreon.com. There you go. Hey, I'm learning. I'm going to add new little bits to it every week.
I can't wait.
I know. I got to work the...
And that's free, by the way.
That's right. Yeah, you get that for nothing. But thank you to the people who have been part of the Patreon and have joined up as patrons. I can't thank you enough. That's amazing. And we definitely have to do our shout outs to our veteran patrons, which Bill Kempthorne and Shelley Rains. Thank you very much. And, of course, our Hall of Famers, Joe Balaneski and Jedi Chantel. And thanks, you guys. I mean, it really, really helps with everything that we're trying to do here. And again, we want to keep bringing these regular shows for no cost on iTunes and Google Play and all these fun things. YouTube now, you can get the audio on YouTube as well.
Yep.
And I am working on getting it back on SoundCloud for those people who are, there you go. Yeah, we'll get that on there as well. But this is actually a prime example this evening. The conversation we had with Ryan was awesome. But, at an hour and a half, we want to make sure that our shows are sitting around that hour mark. So lots of gold that we've got that will be coming as an unedited or the full length interview.
Right.
Will be coming on Patreon, and all for that you just have to be $2 a month.
Yep, and we've got some more coming as well. We do have the Dave Jameson full-length interview coming as well. We wanted to start off. We had the first one there with
Blake Dermott.
With Blake Dermott, which was an hour long. We only used about 20 minutes for the actual podcast. So lots of great stuff in that conversation we had. And again, with the Dave Jameson, we've certainly used quite a bit of it, but there's still, I don't even think we've hit half yet.
Yeah.
So the rest is going to be on that $2 and up Patreon account. So I think it's worth it just for some of those alone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But the fact that you are helping out, I mean, it's really appreciated.
Exactly, and it's being part of a community. And I mean, if you can't be part of the patron, if you can't be a part of that, no problem. As long hit subscribe. Give us a review on iTunes and Google Play, all those types of things. An RT of the link, exactly. All of those types of things really, really help us out. So thank you to everyone for being part of that. Remember, if you are at the Veteran or Hall of Fame level, make sure that you are sending us your address and T-shirt sizes so that we can get you your Empire T-shirt.
Yeah.
So then you can represent as well.
Exactly. They make great gifts.
Exactly. And our first bonus episode will be coming out in May, and we're working on that right about now. So again, thank you so much to everyone that's been a part of it, and hopefully that keeps coming. You can find us at patreon.com/EskEmpirePod. Same thing as the Twitter. Easy.
Easy peasy.
So, anything else you need to add after this week there, Superfan? I mean, it's been a rough week for us as Eskimo fans, CFL fans.
It's been emotional. I am just looking forward to getting into training camp more than ever and just settling into a little bit of normalcy. I don't know if we're going to hear anything about a new general manager, if we're going to go with an interim. Between now, we've got Rob Ralph and Paul Jones sharing some of those duties at this point. I hope that we start getting some really happy and some good news coming in pretty quick.
Yes.
The more we get closer to training camp, the more signings I hope we hear about. We'd love to hear more about who these players are, where they come from, and let's start evaluating where we're going to start seeing some of these replacements and these battles in camp, and I really can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the kind of stuff we're definitely looking forward to.
Yes.
And I think I've seen a couple people put this online as, yes, Ed is gone and that's upsetting, and definitely lots of different opinions on that. Doesn't change the fact that the guys are on the field and the guys that we cheer for are on the field.
Exactly.
And we want to be there and support those guys because those are the guys we want to see. Yep. And we're hoping that, Len and the rest of the board will find a way to make everything else transition as smooth as possible. But we're there to support our guys on the field. So
couldn't say it better myself.
Awesome. Well, Superfan, where does everybody find you on the good old online areas?
They can find me on Twitter at 56parkies and at Esks History, and then again this day in Esks History on Facebook.
Awesome. And you can find me at Esk Empire Pod, or us, I guess, kind of. Sure. And you can find me at Freepalicious. Definitely, like I said, share out and do those types of things. Oh, I do have to do a little bit of an apology this week because I said last week we were going to have this mini Empire Points run, and then I was going to give away a prize on Sunday.
Oh.
And then Friday morning happened, and I completely forgot what I was doing.
I can see that.
It totally kind of shattered my day. After my phone stopped being on fire, it was a little secondary in my mind. So I'm so sorry about that, but we will definitely get back to Empire Points, and there will be a prize winner. And I do appreciate all of the shares and things that you guys have been doing. So thank you to all of you for listening to the show, because without you, there is no Empire. We will be back next week with our regular show with Esks News and Eskimo History. Next round of Esks by the Numbers.
Yeah.
And if you haven't filled it out already, this is round 8. Make sure that you find our links on the Facebook page and Twitters, and we'll definitely be retweeting that out and resending it out on Facebook. So fill that in and share the link. We want to make sure we get as many people involved in this round as possible. And there's some great battles in there.
There are some really good battles in here. Some really close battles and some battles that you think might be a runaway and aren't. So
oh, wow.
Get those votes in there.
Oh, I'm always excited to hear about that. That's awesome. So join us for that. And of course, next week, we will be welcoming a new featured fan.
Yeah, that's great. Looking forward to that.
Haven't had a fan in for a while, so we're looking forward to that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So I guess I guess the first thing we need to say is go Oilers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe let's do it this way. Are we excited about the Oilers winning the first round?
Absolutely.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Absolutely.
For podcaster Ryan and superfan Mike, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face. We will absolutely talk to you next week.